The Lovers Pentacle, Chapter 6, Page of Swords. Malik forced a fake smile. Malik forced a fake smile when Kain walked to the door. Kain too was forcing a fake smile, though his was more obvious. Kain brought out from his backpack the only two-player game he owned, Bubble Bubble. Malik rolled his eyes in spite of himself. The two played what Malik considered a baby game for half an hour. Since he was bored to tears, he suggested that they play something else. Final Fight is like Street Fighter, except that we are going to be fighting together as a team, explained Malik before giving Kain the Super Nintendo controller. Kain fiddled with the Super Nintendo controller, and he felt a little overwhelmed by the 4 extra buttons on his controller. At first he was clumsy, but with enough practice he was able to keep up with Malik. Malik looked at his grandpa Lorraine in search of approval. Lorraine pointed at Kain and he mouthed the words, "Compliment the boy." "Good job, Kain, you are a natural," said Malik before petting Kain's hair. Kain turned his head and he said with a strange inflection in his voice, "I am having so much fun. Can I come over to play tomorrow?" "Yes, I would love to play with you tomorrow," lied Malik. Kain's face turned green for a second and then he threw up over himself and on top of Malik's controller. Malik, dropping his mask, yelled, "What's wrong with you? Mom, Dad, don't just stand there, do something." Grandmaster brought from her purse a handkerchief and she cleaned Kain's face and she gave the boy a comforting hug while he cried unconsolably. "So his grandma took him home," concluded Malik. That's the end of that flashback. "I have been in a lot of stressful situations as an adult, but I was never as tense as I was that day." "So you played with him one afternoon and that's it?" asked Eunice, desiring more details. "I wish. My grandpa brought Kain to my house to play on a daily basis, and he wanted us to become BFFs," explained Malik. "And when we played, Grandpa gave Kain a speech therapy, and after 6 months, Kain almost sounded like a normal human being, and he even participated in the debate competition. He made it to the finals, but a chick took a little too personal. Kain's tirade about stereotypes, and her tantrum got Kain disqualified, and that was the first and last time Kain ever debated competitively. More the pity, little Kain had a lot of talent." Who was that chick? Is it someone I know?" asked Eunice in full gossip mode. "I don't know, I don't remember. It happened such a long time ago. For all I know, she's probably dead," said Malik casually. "And what makes you say that?" asked Eunice, freaking out. "It was rumored that Raphael had Bella poisoned, though nobody could prove it, and nobody could blame him," said Malik, telling one of the many urban legends surrounding Raphael. "And it wouldn't surprise me if he poisoned that wench as well." "Kain has been in the bathroom a bit too long," said Michael, worried. "I better go check up on him." "He's probably in the can," said Eunice absent-mindedly. "Let him have his privacy." Michael went to the bathroom door and he knocked. There was no answer. Michael placed his ear to the door, and there was something unnatural about Kain's breathing. And Michael picked up his cell phone to access the bathroom camera, and the camera showed that Kain had collapsed on the floor, struggling to breathe. Michael used his master key to enter the bathroom, and then he said, "I'm going to call an ambulance," and Michael lifting up Kain. "Hold on." Unla, mouthed Kain. Instead of an ambulance, Michael called Dr. Unla instead. Unla was just getting out of the shower when she saw that she had 6 missed calls from Kain. Alarmed, she dialed back, and she only needed to hear his breathing to know he was suffering another panic attack. The 2 deep breathing exercises and her soothing voice helped Kain regain control of his emotions. If you were feeling that bad, you should have said so," protested Michael. "I'm not some rich narcissist ogre that is incapable of empathizing with others. I was born poor, Kain, and I know what it is like to spend a day without one's daily bread. And I may tease you sometimes, but I have never given you a reason to be afraid of me." "I'm sorry for making a scene and for missing the toilet," said Kain, finally speaking. "Don't worry about it, old sport." "Eunice loves to clean, don't you, honey?" asked Michael. Eunice gave a fake smile before saying, "Oh yes, there's nothing a lot more than to clean up puke, and I will get my cleaning supplies right away." Anise went to the supply closet and she came back with her cleaning items, and she started to fastidiously clean the marble tiles. The get together came to an end, and Kain wanted to drive home, but Michael didn't allow him. He cleaned Kain's face with a tenderness he normally reserved for his daughter. Kain smiled happily, completely delighted by the attention, and he felt rather foolish for overreacting to a little teasing. He showered and he got changed into his pajamas, and when he got out of the bathroom, he was greeted by Michael's family doctor. The doctor examined Kain over the top, and he took a blood sample for analysis. Michael was looking for a pharmacological reason for the incident, and Kain was given a tablet for his heartburn, and he was instructed to stay in bed. Michael sat up with Kain for half an hour, and once the lad was asleep, he went to his bedroom to sleep with his wife. 2 hours past midnight, Eugenia and Dorothy returned home after fooling about, and it was a girls' night out. Eugenia showered and she changed into her pajamas, and when she got into bed, she screamed when she found that there was a person inside. "Why are you still here, Kain? You said you were going home after poker night," said Eugenia. "I'm sorry, I wasn't feeling well, so your father told me to stay and rest," said Kain, apologetic. "Did you get drunk?" asked Eugenia, giggling, and she leaned closer to Kain to kiss his nose. "You smell like Sapporo with a hint of cognac." "I didn't drink that much, and it was the caviar that did a number in my stomach," said Kain. "I told Denise to make people food, but she never listens," said Eugenia, cuddling up beside Kain. "How is Jeremy working for you?" asked Kain before yawning. "Our dogs are happy, and that's what is most important. Jeremy is a little quiet but polite, and it's hard to imagine that my own Misa almost bit someone's hand clean off," said Eugenia, closing her eyes. She was probably picking up someone's negative energies, and dogs are far more perceptive than humans, said Kain. "Tomorrow, do you want to go to the pound to get a new cat?" asked Eugenia, remembering that her boyfriend had recently lost a cat. "That won't be necessary. A new stray has already moved into my backyard. He still won't let me feed him or pet him, but I'm a patient man," said Kain, closing his eyes. The following morning came, and Kain left at the crack of dawn in order to go to work. Eugenia went to the kitchen to have a breakfast with her sister, and Dorothy was busy filling college applications while occasionally looking at her cell phone. And she had given her number to Siddhanta, and she was anxiously waiting for him to accept her invitation to go out with her as friends. "Sis, have you finally figured out what you wanted to do with your life?" Sis, are you listening to me?" asked Eugenia. And she noticed that her sister was waiting for a call, and she added, giggling, "The guy works, Dorothy. You can expect him to fight bad guys while texting you every 5 seconds. "I forgot," said Dorothy, sticking her tongue out, and she smiled with glee. "Look, he just texted me back, and he would love to go out with me as friends or as literally anything else." He took the bait. "I think you're getting ahead of yourself, little sister," said Eugenia. "Come on, sis," said Dorothy. "Siddhanta is a hot, law-abiding, self-made man, and there's literally no reason for me not to go out with him." "You just turned 18, Dorothy," remarked Eugenia, and she was putting roadblocks to see just how much her little sister likes Siddhanta. "All that means is that I can finally move on to the major league," said Dorothy. "And how much older is Siddhanta, by the way?" "He's almost 22, answered her niece. "A 4-year gap is within the acceptable range, and you have my permission to date him, Dorothy." "Yay, Mom, I love you," said Dorothy, slobbering her mother's face with kisses. "Look, Eugenia, your boyfriend already made the headlines," said Michael, showing the newspaper to his daughter. "The article had been written by Alexia. According to the article, he almost got shot because he gave his bulletproof vest to a little old lady who was in danger. If he hadn't done that, the old woman would have gotten shot in the heart. I just don't get that boy. He fights crime every day, and yet a simple poker game is enough to overwhelm him," said Ernest, stabbing a tomato in her morning salad. "He probably suffered from social anxiety," guessed Michael. It was common for Kain to become the main topic of conversation in Michael's household, and just when Michael thought he had Kain figured out, the officer would do something unexpected. Kain was an element of chaos, alleviated the tedium that was Michael's life, and the last article at least helped to make Kain so unworthy of Michael's respect. Parallel to these events, Farley was reading the newspaper while eating breakfast, and he was curious to see if anyone had written anything about him, and he turned green with envy when he saw that the newspaper only talked about Kain. Fanny was envious and angry that the good-for-nothing King was getting all the media attention. Fanny had done hundreds of arrests, and the press only came barking at his door with complaints. Farley saw Kain doodling on his sketchbook with his headset on, and he went to Uncle Gento's office to politely ask him to send Kain to art school. If the kid loved drawing so much, there was no reason for him to continue such a dangerous line of work. "I can't fire my own nephew," protested again. "He can't sue you. He's your nephew," reasoned Farley. "I'm not worried about a potential lawsuit. It is just that his rich girlfriend is our biggest donor. If he gets fired, you won't be getting any Christmas bonuses," reasoned Uncle Get, trying to defuse the situation. "He may not work in the traditional sense, but he's a good source of positive PR. And every time he appears in the newspaper, our department gets hundreds of donations that we can use to increase our workforce." "That may be true for now, but it is only a matter of time before this house of cards comes crumbling down," said Farley ominously before leaving Gen's office. "Cruz, cruz, que se vaya Farley y venga Jesús," said Gen while knocking on wood, and he had learned that prayer to ward away evil from Carina. That prayer means cross, cross, let Farley be gone, and let Jesus come. And normally instead of Farley they would say like the devil. Gen started munching on a chocolate bar, and as he did, he meditated on the possibility of his nephew being out of a job. And he crossed his hands to pray that by some miracle Kain's forensic drawing will help apprehend the suspect. Kain too was praying for this miracle as well, and he wasn't oblivious to the envious hatred he inspired among his co-workers. And at times he felt that only Siddhanta and Uncle Gen were on his side. And at the end of his shift, he visited his psychologist Unla, and she always knew what to say to make him feel better. When he came inside her house, he saw Carina and Bruno watching a movie, and Kain had forgotten that Bruno now lived permanently with Carina. Kain looked about for a place to sit down in the small living room, and with no place to sit, he sat down on the floor beside Carina, and he rested his head against her knee, and he sighed wearily. Carina began to absentmindedly pet Kain's hair, and Bruno frowned, but he said nothing. "I'm going to lose my job, Carina," pouted Kain. "Your uncle has the final word on the matter," said Bruno, "though if internal affairs gets involved, I don't know if your uncle will be able to protect you." "I think internal affairs have better things to do than investigate a lay about employees," said Carina, trying to reassure Kain. "Do you still have problems driving? And maybe if you went on patrol more often, nobody will be able to see you being lazy." "Hey, I work hard when I'm allowed to," protested Kain. "And it isn't my fault Uncle Gen is overprotective of me. He is my boss, and I have to do what he says." "I am surprised he even allowed you to become a cop," said Carina. "And what were you doing before?" asked Bruno. "I was a mechanic. It wasn't the most exciting job, but it gave me enough to live on. Though I do make far more as a police officer, and I only need to work for 18 more years to qualify for a pension," said Kain. "It's a good deal, Carina. There's no other job out there that can give me those benefits." "Do you like that job?" asked Bruno. "He likes the money and his co-workers," answered Carina, "with the exception of Mr. Farley. Before he came into the station, nobody had a problem with my humble contributions to the cause," whispered Kain. "And Farley has created a tense working environment, and he has ridiculously high standards that he insists everyone follows. And whenever somebody makes even the smallest punctuation error, he threatens to call internal affairs." "He sounds like a total Frank Grimes, and we should hex him," said Carina. "Is that legal, Azula?" "It is a gray area," said Bruno. "It is considered an assault if you threaten to hex Farley in person, though by talking about it we are technically conspiring to commit a crime." "Forget the hex. It was a stupid idea," said Carina. "Our efforts will be better spent in helping Kain excel at his job. I caught 2 dangerous burglars, but apparently that isn't enough for Mr. Farley," said Kain. "He probably thinks that Siddhanta did all the work," guessed Carina. "And maybe you should tag team with Siddhanta for now. If anything, this will keep you out of Farley's radar." "Siddhanta doesn't want to buddy cop with me anymore," whined Kain. "He feels that I make stupid decisions while under pressure." "Well, nobody told you to remove your bulletproof vest," retorted Unla. "I saved that little old woman," insisted Kain. "You got lucky, Kain," said Bruno. "You can't rely on luck to save you from dangerous situations." "Listen to Bruno, Kain," said Carina. "Yes, Mom," said Kain, rolling his eyes, and changing the subject, he said, "I saw Malik last night." Malik, I haven't heard that name in years, said Carina, coiling her arms around Bruno's elbow, and she rested her head against his shoulder before sighing. Malik was Carina's first boyfriend, and she still remembered fondly the good times while she was still bitter about the bad times. And as a child, Carina was a hyperactive chatterbox, and to burn off her excess energy, her mother had suggested that she become a cheerleader, and this was a good option for the petite 11-year-old Carina who loved to dance. And when she cheering for her baseball team, Carina saw the 12-year-old that became her first boyfriend. Malik was the slugger for the opposing team, and when Carina saw him holding firmly his metal bat, she felt something she had never felt before. And when his bat struck the ball, her heart skipped a beat, and it was a home run. And little by little, Carina sheered closer and closer to the opposing team, and she was eventually close enough to strike a conversation with Malik, who was resting in the bench. Giggling, Carina said, "Hello, Malik. I'm Carina. Pleased to meet you." "I didn't ask for your name," said Malik dryly. "I know. Your green eyes are very pretty," said Carina, complimenting Malik's eye. "I have green eyes, too." "No, you don't," said Malik, looking into Carina's face. "Trust me, there is green inside my brown eyes, and the light has to hit them just right in order for my eyes to look green," said Carina before turning her face towards the sunlight. A bored Malik drew close enough to see if her eyes changed color. Carina, on impulse, kissed Malik's cheek before running away, giggling. Malik's face turned deep red, and he tried to ignore the girl, but the cheerleader kept waving and making googly eyes at him, and this was the first time that a girl had flirted with him. And Malik tried to focus on the game, and when he went to bat again, he got distracted by the screeching twin calling his name. Carina quieted down when she saw that she was distracting Malik, and Malik focused and he squeezed his bat firmly before sending the ball flying. Another home run. The game came to a close. Malik's parents loved micromanaging every aspect of his life, and Rosanna had looked with her eyes to see who were Carina's parents, and she saw Carina walking up to a woman in a lab coat, and Nola hadn't been able to change out of her work attire, and the two women arranged a play date. Malik had recently gotten rejected by the girl he liked, and his mother Rosanna fancied that he would get over his heartache by dating a girl who was truly into him. The following day, Carina was planning the play date with her mother, and the hours before the visitation felt interminable to her. And she opened her closet to look for a pretty dress, and each time she tried on an outfit, she immediately changed her mind about it. And she eventually settled for a polka dot dress. The dots were the same shade of green as Malik eyes. Carina had her mother straighten her hair, and she painted her nails as well. Carina wanted to use makeup, but her mother only allowed her to put on a glossy lipstick. "Mom, what should I bring? Should I leave Nana behind? Mom, what if Malik plays video games? I don't know how to play video games. Mom, what do I do?" asked Carina, examining all of her toys and board games. "Relax, Carina. I already planned an activity you both can enjoy," said Unla proudly. "Phew," said Carina while jumping on top of her bed. "And I was worried there for a second." "Carina, stand still for a second, and I want to talk about the birds and bees," said Unla, wrangling her daughter. "I already know about them," said Carina. "And in 4th grade, we did an entire semester about abstinence and venereal diseases, and I also read about it in your medical textbook." "Medical textbooks and teachers do not prepare you for the complexities of a relationship, Carina," said Unla, petting her daughter's hair lovingly. "You haven't, yet." "Oh, Mom, gross. I don't want to talk about that with you," protested Carina, embarrassed. Would you rather talk to a stranger about it?" asked Unla dryly. "I am a doctor, Carina, and more importantly, I am your mother. There's nothing you can say that will shock me or make me stop loving you." Carina opened her mouth and she proceeded to shock her mother, and Unla cried uneasily as she regretted to discover that her little girl wasn't as innocent as she pretended to be. The promised hour came, and the children would bond in the youth fair. The parents rendezvoused in the parking lot, and they walked together into the busy amusement park. Carina giggled every so often while holding on to Malik's hand, and she saw the carousel, and she dragged Malik to the ride, and she maintained her same manic energy while waiting in line. So you are in middle school, asked Malik, breaking the awkward silence. Cause yeah, he was like awkward. She's like very quiet, hyper. Carina laughed maniacally before saying, "Ha ha ha! I skipped a grade cause I am so smart." What is your IQ? Asked Malik, who wanted to see if he was smarter than Carina. I scored 135, said Carina proudly. Not bad for a girl, said Malik, and he lied. I scored 137. Don't lie, Malik. My son scored 127, said Rosanna. Is that right? That means I'm smarter than you, Malik. I'm smarter than you. I'm smarter than you, said Carina, jumping on the spot while holding on to Malik's hand. Malik looked towards the heavens while he pondered why his God had forsaken him. Malik reached the end of the line and he mounted the first sort of the carousel, and he found when he felt a small hand clawing its way up his leg. Carina wanted to ride on the same horse as Malik, and he set back to Alina to see before him. Carina giggled since she got her way, and Unla took a photograph of the two riding together, and when the carousel started turning, Carina became even more hyperactive. Stand still, you're going to fall, rebuked Malik, and he placed his arm around Carina's waist, and with the other he held onto the reins. Carina remembered going on all the rides with Malik before going home, and she rode in the carousel again with him, and the way he held onto her waist made Carina feel just like a little princess, and what happened afterward wasn't a happy memory. They got off the ride, and on the way out of the park, Carina stood on her tippy toes, and she closed her eyes, and she made a kissy mouth. And Malik walked past Carina, completely ignoring her desire for a kiss. Don't ever do that to me again, Mother, said Malik, pointing to Carina. I am not a dad, protested Carina sadly. Did I do something wrong, Malik? It is not you, it's me, lied Malik, and I recently broke up with my girlfriend, and I don't have the energy to get to know a new girl. You never had a girlfriend, said Rosanna, calling her son on his line. There was this older girl he had a serious crush on, but the slut rejected him. And why don't you like me, Malik? Insisted Carina, while crocodile tears rolled down her cheeks. Sheesh, look, I just don't like you, alright? Said Malik, sighing with frustration. I'm sorry. Is it because I'm too short? Asked Carina. There's nothing wrong with you, said Malik. You are a beautiful girl with a great personality, and trust me, you can do better. You can do so much better. Can we at least start as friends? Insisted Carina. I have enough friends, said Malik before hiding behind his father. The two families went their separate ways, and from that moment on, Carina only saw Malik when he played baseball, and she went to all of his games and she cheered for him regardless of whether he did well or not. And in a particularly difficult game, Malik tried to steal base, and the pitcher, noticing his intention, threw the ball to second base, and the opponent obstructed Malik, and when he attempted to slide to steal base, his opponent ended up falling on the youth. And Malik received his first sports injury, a sprained wrist, and Malik rolled around the dirt screaming in agony. And Lorraine was the first to reach his grandson, and he picked up the boy and he took him to the infirmary. And with the injury treated, the doctors gave Malik the bad news. He was going to have to rest his hand for at least a month. And baseball season was over for Malik. A week passed after that incident, and Malik was still depressed, and since everyone had failed to coax him out of his bedroom, Rosanna decided that drastic measures were needed, and she invited Carina into her house, and she hoped that some of Carina's manic energies would rouse Malik from his stupor. Alright, that's the end of that chapter. Bye bye, God bless.